pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just remain standing a moment. Pastor Markle will give our invocation, please.
God and Father, what we see represented here tonight is a lot of heart and a lot of passion, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and our prayer is that you would bring all of this together under your wisdom, because we want Allen Park to be the best community to raise a family, to work, to learn, to grow, and we want to do this all to make this place a place that you will be pleased with. We pray this tonight. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Pastor.
Okay, see if I can do the move.
The clerk take the roll, please.
All righty.
Not so good today.
Councilman Templin.
Present.
Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Here.
Councilwoman Gabarecki.
Present.
Councilman Rourke.
Here.
Madam Pro Tem McLeod.
Here.
Treasurer Armstrong.
Present.
Mayor Matakas.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you. Could I have a motion to put tonight's agenda before the council?
Motion.
Support.
Councilman Cisco has moved. Councilman DeGiulio has supported. Any changes, additions, actions?
I want to separate claims and accounts there, Mayor.
Without objections, A1 will be taken from the consent agenda and handled separately, please. Any other changes, corrections? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you very much. The approval for the minutes of August 22nd, a motion to put before council.
Motion.
Support.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod is moved, supported by Councilwoman Gabarecki. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Approval of the minutes for the special meeting of August 29th.
Motion.
Support.
Councilman Templin is moved. Councilwoman Gabarecki is supported. Is there any discussion of this matter? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. The city administrator is ill tonight, so CFO Katie had a senior moment, excuse me. Will be handling his city administrator's role.
Good evening. I'd like to give up a little bit of my time first to Officer Albright, who wants to talk a little bit about the Cop on a Block program. Sergeant Albright, sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
It doesn't sound like it.
Buttons on your left-hand side.
There we go. I think it's on. There you go. Talked to Mark Kibbe a couple days ago, and he wanted me to come forward and just give an explanation on our very, very successful pilot program that we launched just past Wednesday. This is the Cop on the Block program. Now, as all of you know, probably a couple years ago now, we launched the crime prevention meetings that we held here, right here in this building. And this was done for a couple different purposes. Obviously, a way to get vital information out to the public on crime stats for our city versus surrounding cities and their particular neighborhoods. We talked about many different issues, safety issues for your home and for personnel to keep your home and property safer. The list goes on and on of things that we did. These meetings were actually televised, so people could, if they couldn't make the meeting, they could actually view it at home on the local cable network. So this has been a great program. What we found, though, this last year is a decline in the people that were showing up, but just as many people are watching it on cable. So we're still getting the word out. The difference is we're losing that connection that we have to the people, that personal connection. And that's what we're actually part of what we're striving to achieve is that, that communication with our residents and getting to know them personally. So we try to think of what can we do to solve this problem. Detective Thorburn went to a school about a month ago, 6 weeks ago on community policing. One of the things that they talked about, this was an idea that was thrown out there. It really hadn't been implemented by any police department. And he came back and talked to me about this program. It was not called Cop on the Block. We came up with that. But the idea is, instead of having people come to us, here, because it's difficult at night after you've worked all day and then you made your meal for your family, to ask them to come back now for another hour and a half at 7 o'clock in the evening to get all this information. So instead of the people coming to us, the idea is we go to the people right there on their block. And once we discussed it, we both agreed that this would be a great project, a great program for Allen Park. Probably won't work for every city, but it definitely does for Allen Park, because for the majority of the public, they do support us. You know, we always have the people that don't like us. That's the nature of the job. But the majority of Allen Parkers voice their opinion in a positive way in support of the police department. And we like to reciprocate, all right? We're always looking for ways to improve that relationship between the citizens and our police department by way of communication and other avenues. So we started this program Wednesday night, this past Wednesday, and we picked the street. It was just a random pick, Hanover Street, just between Lawrence and Roger on the north side of Southfield. And we blocked off both streets from one end to the other with a police car. And actually, as we showed up, because we had no idea how this program was going to work, as we showed up, there were people waiting for us already, which was a very positive response. It was good to see that. So we went door to door, knocking, introducing ourselves, and inviting people out to the meeting, which we had held right in front of one of the houses. And before we knew it, there was 60 people plus waiting for us to talk to them. All neighbors. Some of them had never met each other before, which was a good thing to see. So I was able to talk about some crime prevention tips. A lot of you have seen the 20 plus points that I've given out before on safety for your home. We had that available for everybody. Detective Thorburn talked about our Extra Eyes program, which is the doorknob, the doorbell with the video camera, and how that hooks into the police department. Again, having the citizens and us work very closely together. That's been a very positive program because we've solved quite a few crimes already by that Extra Eyes program. So he talked about that. We also had Sergeant Feltz there, who was in charge of our neighborhood watch programs. So if anybody wanted to be involved in that, there was information there. And then finally, we had our Best Buy people there. We had representatives from Best Buy and also Vivint Security Systems. And of course, we have partnered up with Best Buy to give Allen Parkers just some bonuses for security systems. We get a discount. Anybody from Allen Park gets the discount. And it doesn't have to be a huge system. It can be just the doorbell, the recorded doorbell, all the way up to a very advanced system. Very soft sells. They don't push anything. They're 100% wanting to help Allen Park become a safer community while partnering with us. So that was good to see that. We then went from that street over to Ruth Street, Ruth and Moore, and had the same type of meeting. Again, 60 plus people arrived at that meeting. We didn't even have to go door to door on that one. They did the work for us. Sorry about that. We went we didn't have to go door to door. We had a meeting there. It got dark before we were done talking to people. And what I noticed was they didn't want to leave. People stayed in the street, not necessarily talking to us because we did field questions, but what I saw was neighbors talking to neighbors. And it happened at the First Street too. And so this is what this program's all about. Not only is it about communicating with the public, giving them information that's important to them, us coming to them and improving that relationship that we have, but it's also about neighbors getting to know neighbors. Because I always tell people when I teach, we talk about first responders being police. But in reality, we're the second responders. All right, because the first responders are the people that are involved in that crime. They're the people that look out their window and see that neighbor that's gone and somebody's lurking around their car. And they're the ones that call. Okay, so they're the first responders. And so it takes a collaborative effort between citizens and us to make Allen Park a safer place. And the more you know your neighbor, the better off you're going to be. And so I think this is a great start to the program. I want to say thank you to Councilman Cisco. He showed up not knowing what was going to happen, so I thought that was pretty brave of him because he could have been bombarded with a lot of crazy questions. But I don't want to speak for him. Just looking at his demeanor that night and the people that he talked to, I could tell that he was pleasantly surprised at the positive outcome of the program that just started. And the people that I'm sure talked to you about problems that they had, but it wasn't in a bad, negative way. There was nobody angry. There was nobody coming up yelling. It was a good atmosphere of coming together as a community, and that's what we're looking for. Our next meeting, we don't have it finalized yet, but right now we're talking about not tomorrow, but next Wednesday. We're looking at the park, the tot lot on Park Avenue between Thomas and Marquise. We think that's a good area because there's a lot of kids. Kids can actually be playing in the park while we talk to the parents. So that's not set in stone, but we're looking at that as the next one. It'll be on our Facebook page. And I encourage anybody that sees this, if you're interested in wanting us to have us on your block, go to our Allen Park Police page, the Facebook page, and send Detective Thorburn a note that you would really like to have us on your block, and we will put you on the list. This is going to be a random, the more people we get, we just pick the blocks, we come off with the same message, trying to get the community to come together and build those relationships. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sergeant.
That's pretty good. Next, if I could, I'd like to have Bruce Hammonds from our city engineer office, CE Rains, give an update on city infrastructure projects.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm up here again to give you an update on some of the work that's been going on throughout the city, specifically the millage program for the street construction. As you all aware that we've been working on Belfour between Wick or Ecorse and Champaign for quite a while, and that project's wrapping up. The road is completely paved. It's open for traffic. We're finished up some sidewalks and some ADA ramps, doing the restoration. We got about 2/3 of the irrigation systems on that street repaired, so we'll be finishing that hopefully here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be done with that project and the street millage program for 2017. Looking forward to going ahead and doing some more streets in 2018. The street sectioning programs paid for the major and local street funds. Cortland and Hamilton are the two streets that had some sectioning done. They're both paved, but one half is still barricaded. They're waiting for the concrete to cure. Hopefully that curing process will be done by the end of this week, and all those roads will be open to traffic. The sectioning program will be moving on to the area of Beverly near Shenandoah and do some concrete replacement over there in the next couple of weeks. Moving on from that, the hotel projects, the Holiday Inn and Hampton Inn here on Enterprise Drive, just down the street. They have started, or the excavation is underway for their stormwater detention system. Hopefully they'll get that finished here in about 2 or 3 weeks, and it's starting really to progress along with the utilities and the structure and things like that. So they have a lot, obviously, work to do on the inside, but it's all moving forward. Last Friday, myself attended the Great Lakes Water Authority wastewater master plan meeting. It's a 4-year plan for the entire, basically the entire sewage system in the Detroit metropolitan area. How it affects, more specifically, is Allen Park. A lot is talked about with rates and rate making and things like that. If you recall, you had a significant increase in the sewage rate from them that serves the northern area of the city. One of the highly contested issues was what they call strength of flow, or basically a simple way of putting it is how much real sewage is in your sewage. And that is one of the factors that the rate is based on. And as we found out, the city's outfall or sewage output was never tested. So they made assumptions on it about how strong it was and decided the city's rate, and that caused it to be, I think, upwards of, was it in the 20% area?
29%.
29%. So it was a big issue. And to help resolve that, or help look into it further, one thing that was promised to the city is that they would be sampled. Their sewage would be sampled coming up, and there's a sampling plan that I just got today that we'll be reviewing for Allen Park to make sure that they get what they need, basically get the samples that they need to get and when and things like that. So that was one of the outcomes of the basically the agreement that back in, well, I think it was in last year when all this was a very hot topic that was done, that they would sample and we'll use that data going forward for looking at sewage rate increase. On the other end of the spectrum, water rates. Tom Murray and I attended a water rates group meeting today at the SEMCOG building in Detroit, and where they talked about the future of water rates. And one of the things for Allen Park is that their 5-year contract, or their 5-year review, is coming up. So here in the next few weeks, the Great Lake Water Authority will be contacting the city saying it's time again for us to sit down, review your contract, and decide on what rates, or not, basically not what rates, but what parameters do you want to set for your community that will ultimately determine your rates. What that means is you have two parameters that decide your rates. One is the peak hour, and that is in the 365 day a year, what hour did you consume the most water? And basically you have to have all the pumps and equipment and treatment ability to meet that peak hour. So everything has to be sized to meet that demand. And that's one of the cost drivers is, okay, how much electricity, how much we got to have to meet Allen Park's peak hour. And the other one is what they call their max day. What's the day out of the year that you use the most water? So you got to have, again, you got to have the pumping ability, you got to have the chemicals and stuff like that to be able to meet that, and that's how they calculate the cost. 90% of the cost is based on those two things. So when you look at those two things, the city has some options on whether they want to raise it or lower it based on their history. And the past history has shown that everything is declining. Your peak hour is going down and your max day is going down. So if you lower those two, those have an impact on the rates. The only downside to that is for you, for see this year, it's good because you get to lower your rates. There leaves a gap for everybody else that has to get filled in, because there is a, basically it's a pie. And if Allen Park makes their pie smaller, somebody else has got to get bigger. So there's another thing going on that there's going to be a one-time adjustment this year for all the other 77 communities that are not having a contract reopener. So they're trying to balance out these highs and lows, because basically what happens is you lower it, so the first year everything's great, oh, my rate went down, rate down. Well, then the next set of communities come along and they lower theirs. So then it goes back to you because they lowered theirs lower than yours, so somebody's got to make up that difference. So the cycle keeps on going. So they're trying to find ways to keep the rates stable. So it's not like, well, we got a 3% decrease this year, and then a year from now we get a 12% increase, trying to keep it, always in balance, having these swings back and forth. So that's the meeting that we attended today, and all those things will be happening here, well, basically in the next couple months. So you'll be, like I say, getting contacted about your contract, and you'll be able to sit down and with them and say, based on our history, this is where we want to be. So that's happening.
You know what day that's going to be?
I don't know. All I know is I think you will get a letter before around the week of September 25th. And that time they'll say, we'd like to meet with you this day. And they provided with some information today, and they're gonna provide more information before you sit down and have the negotiation with them. And lastly, tomorrow, Tom and I will be meeting with MDOT and our bridge consultant. We are getting what is called a quality assurance and quality control inspection on all the bridge inspections that have been done on the 2 bridges that the city has registered with the state. That's on Reek Road and one on the Southfield Service Drive. So the state is basically going to check up on us to make sure that we did everything correctly, and we're keeping good records and stuff like that. We don't think there'll be any problems, but they may find something or have a new regulation that we're totally unaware of that we have to follow. So that'll be happening tomorrow. And that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Any questions by council? I have one.
Mm-hmm.
Who picks the peak day? I mean, how do they figure it? Where do they get it from?
Oh, they get it from, they got
Historical data.
you got five water plants, and each plant is measured, each plant is metered on their output. So you combine them all every day. You could take them all together, and then you chart them every day. They have a chart that you actually can see, like on, today their output was 250 million gallons, and tomorrow might be 260. And you basically just watch that chart till especially watch it in July. That's when 80% of the peak days happen. And you see it, they'll use 800 million gallons. You'll see the peak, and that'll be the day that they say, okay, on this day, this is what you used for the system-wide. And also your community's metered too. You have meters that they watch all the time, and they say, okay, Allen Park, on July 4th at 8 a.m., you hit your peak day, your peak hour or your max day, depending on what your water meters say. So that's how basically they decide it.
If digitally they can check 77 communities, why wouldn't you use average flow for the community for 365 days is peak flow? Because I assume the peak flows are going to be pretty close to the same time for everybody.
Just about.
Because it's going to be a function of.
Mostly they're simultaneous, is what they call them.
It's a function of watering lawns during the driest part of the period.
Yep.
Is it because they have to be able to provide the service at the peak load, so they have to build for the peak system?
Yep. Yes.
So that's the measurement device, and that's done all over the country?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
It's also a device to allow the communities to take some kind of steps to control their flow with alternative watering,
Right.
like watering out peak other days and those kinds of things.
Some
to
cities have
cut
irrigation
that
ordinance that
demand.
says you can only irrigate between these times, and some are mandatory, some are voluntary, things like that.
Okay. There are no other questions? Thank you very
Thank
much,
you very
Mr. Hammond.
I have a couple other items. The Touch a Truck program is this Saturday, September 16th, from 12 to 4. That's behind the Red Fawn. There'll be a lot of big trucks there where people can walk up, and I assume they'll let little kids climb on them and do all kinds of cool things. And the Made in Michigan Festival is again here in Allen Park. They're going to close Allen Road on September 29th and 30th. Wine, beer, all kinds of good stuff will be had there. I'm sure that I'll be there. Lastly, I got a chance to go over to the new City Hall site today and walk through briefly with the building director and DPW director. And they are on schedule. I would say they're about 75% done with the interior deletion of or demo of the building. And probably be done with the demo by the end of this week if all holds the way it is. So it is moving along, and the program's moving, so thought I'd let you know that. And that's all I have, Mayor. I like Albright's better.
We have a motion to accept CFO Katie's updates, reports, and also the report of Officer Albright, Sergeant Albright, and Bruce Hammond.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilwoman Gavarecki. Are there any questions or comments? Councilman Sisko?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the cop on a block thing for just a minute. It was very successful. People were very happy that the police were out there. It really was, everything that Sergeant Albright said was absolutely 100% accurate. I think it's a good deal. People are looking for it, and one of the things that I think he missed was they were able to go into the police cars and get the crime reports for that area, for like the whole street of Ruth or the whole street of Hanover. And they announced this is what happened. It wasn't just that block, it's like the entire street. And so people were happy to hear some of those things, to know what's going on in their neighborhood, because how would they know what happens 2 blocks down? So that was a positive thing. And I think going forward, it's going to be a really terrific thing. And Chief, from that, those couple of meetings, I have a couple of things to talk to you about after the meeting. Chief Wolkowitz, that is, not Chief LaFond. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. I have two items tonight. Dr. Kevin Potocsky, I'd ask for a motion for his approval to the DDA Board of Trustees for a term
Motion.
ending 12/31/19.
Motion, Mayor.
Councilman DeGiulio is
Support.
moved. Councilman Cisco is seconded. Just for the audience information, Dr. Potocsky is a dentist here in Allen Park, has had offices on Goddard in 2002, and then in 2012 moved on to Allen Road where his current office is, and has the big smile sign over across the building on the west side of Allen Road. He will be a business appointee. He actually lives in West Bloomfield, but the DDA has business appointments that don't require the business people to reside in the city. He's talked to myself at some length about the mission statement for the DDA. I know he's talked to the director. He's also talked with Trevor Daniels, who is one of the three attorneys in Dennis Miller's office that represent the DDA, about what's expected of the of various board members for the DDA. So, if there's any questions, happy to entertain them. If none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. The second item is the appointment of the Deputy Parks and Recreation Director, Robert W. Fulton. A motion, please.
Motion.
Councilman Gavarecki has moved, and Councilman Pro Tem McLeod has seconded. Does somebody from Human Resources want to talk about the procedure that went through on Monday and came about with the recommendation? Who was there and who chaired the meeting?
All of the HR committee members were there on Monday, Mr. Templin, Mr. Cisco, and myself, along with the Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Hawkins, the Chairman of the Parks and Recreation Commission, Mr. Shepard, and Mr. Kibbe, who kind of chaired the process. We interviewed 5 candidates, and it was very thorough, very interesting process, and a lot of discussion afterwards, but it was very clear, I think, to all those who participated that one candidate stood out and has the ability to assume more of the responsibilities that Mr. Hawkins is seeking. If any of the other committee members would like to comment, appreciate that, but it was a very excellent process, and once again, I appreciate the members of the HR committee with whom I am having the pleasure of working.
Councilman DeGiulio.
Do we, can we give a name of the gentleman that's going to take the job and his salary?
Oh, I thought I mentioned it was Robert W. Fulton as part of the motion.
Okay, and his salary?
$58,000.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor.
Councilman Cisco.
Yeah, and this, part of what we're doing now within the city is a line of succession, is putting people in place in management that has been decimated over the years in all the departments. And we are now trying to build that up. So when the sad day comes that Mr. Hawkins retires or anybody else retires within all our departments, that there's hopefully a line of succession where we're not scrambling around trying to find somebody that knows how to do stuff. So this is a good thing for the city, and for some of us that have been here on the council for a little bit. We know how depleted our ranks were in a lot of areas. So this is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Any other comments?
No,
Councilwoman Garecki?
thank you. I just maybe make note of it as well, is that the Parks and Rec Commission did unanimous supported this. They all agreed to this nomination as well. Thank you. I skipped that word, didn't I?
And just, for people in the Allen Park in our audience here tonight, they ought to realize just how depleted we got. As the mayor, when we lost our Brownfield representative, the mayor now serves on the DCC's Brownfield. When we lost the DPS director, the mayor now serves on DUA, the Downriver Utility Wastewater Authority. And both of those are supported by the mayor pro tem as my alternate in those positions. But over the years, they were always held by department heads. And because we just didn't have people who had experience in there coming forward at the time, and we had to have the coverage, that's what we've been doing. But those things will have to be handed back to the respective departments at some point, because that's where they belong. So I think these are steps in the right way. We've done that in the CFO's office, and we've now done it here. So I think they're two important steps. And I know in DPS, we have a building official who's a younger person who's been brought in who's assisting Dave. So we need to do this throughout the city's departments. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It is carried, but Councilman Rourke has voted no. Claims and accounts in purchasing actions under A1 was removed from the consent agenda, and I'd like a motion to put that there.
Point of order.
Oh,
Public
excuse
comments.
me. I'm sorry. Time for public comments, and I would just ask you to remember the rules of decorum that are on the back of our agendas, and please come forward with your comments or questions.
The name is Malcolm Beaton. Last time I spoke at this council meeting when I left, someone didn't like what I said. Had some things to say I didn't appreciate. When you talk about that 67 riot, the first paragraph in there, that reporter blamed that riot on the Detroit Police Department. Could you believe that? When I read that, that was enough for me. I lived through that. When that fires started and our policemen and firemen from all around went to put those fires out, don't you realize some of those policemen and firemen were killed? And to wave that paper like you did, like that reporter was the second coming of Tom Brokaw or maybe some other well-known reporter, that was a shame what that man wrote about the policemen and the firemen. And then the mayor chips in and starts talking about rogue cops. For the life of me, I don't know what that had to do with the 67 riot. I can't comprehend that. Let me leave you two with this. Years ago, a friend of mine, you might have heard about him. His name was Shakespeare. He wrote a little comment. He must have had a premonition that one day Eminem, Matakas, and McLeod would be serving on his council. He said it so eloquently. Sometimes it is best to maintain your silence. least you stand and speak and let the people know where the fools sit.
Good evening. I've got a couple things that are happening downtown. Maybe.
Just identify yourself for the audience, okay?
Oh, I'm Jennifer Kibbe, the director of the Allen Park Downtown Development Authority. As Mr. Katie mentioned, Touch a Truck is this Saturday. It's our 5th annual. Unfortunately, DTE and Carl Sims won't be there because he's in Florida, but we have lots and lots of other trucks, some a whole new ones that we've never seen before, but of course police and fire, which are always a huge hit. That will be from noon to 4 behind the Prestige, used to be known as the Red Fawn. Please come out and join us. I have the maps for the Inside Out, which is downtown, the DIA artwork downtown through the end of October. There's also a Facebook page where we're going over a little bit about each painting as time goes on, and our events that are related to the work. The first one on the list right now is a lecture at the library on September 26th. That'll be led by a docent from the DIA, and should be very interesting, but you do need to register for that. And I've got these, and you can get them on the website as well. And then finally, there is Made in Michigan, which is at the end of the month. It's 2 days this year, and should be very exciting. I put out a call for volunteers last week, and thank you for those who have signed up. If you'd like to sign up, and that goes for anybody, you go to the Facebook page, the Made in Michigan Facebook page, and there's a way to sign up there. We're looking for folks to sell beer and to sell tickets for food and beer. You obviously need to be 21 to sell the beer, but only 16 to sell the tickets. That's it. Everybody come downtown. There's lots going on.
Any questions for Ms. Kibbe?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Ray McGusson-Quant. Got a couple questions to the mayor. Who authorizes or allows something to be put on the agenda? If I want to get something put on the agenda, what is the procedure?
The city administrator normally will work on the agenda with myself. Any 2 council people can ask that an item be placed on the agenda.
So are you the final say?
Am I the final say?
Yes,
No.
are you the final say?
No.
Okay. Go ahead, Mike, you have something?
Through the chair, generally, agendas are city business, like internal city business. So only internal city business goes on here. This opportunity right here is where, like, if a citizen has something to bring up. That's the whole purpose of public comment.
No, I'm not talking about public comments, Mike. I firmly believe within a city, we have a lot of volunteers. Those volunteers put a lot of time in. They're not paid. They do it out of the goodness of their heart. They've been doing it for many, many, many years. Some of them for 40 years, some for 50. You got a lot of businesses here that have been here for many years. If you take a look downtown, a lot of those businesses that we have aren't there no more. But there's still a lot of businesses that are still here. I firmly believe that it's time to start to recognize those people. We don't have to give them plaques. All we have to do is just recognize them. Thank them for the service of what they have been doing within our city. And I think that should be brought up. I don't see why it should not be brought up. I firmly believe they're part of this city. And they should be recognized. We recognize our police, we recognize our fire, we recognize you, we recognize our DPW, but they are all paid by us. And we should recognize them. But I also firmly believe that the volunteers and even our other commissions at the end of the year or something should be really recognized because they are not paid. They put in sometimes more time than some of you do, which is hard to believe. They work all year on certain functions. And look at the functions that they work on. So I'm just asking, why don't we recognize them? Or why is it something we just don't do? If any of you like to say something, I'm more than willing to open with my couple minutes or whatever, or 30 seconds or what I got left. With that, thank you very much.
Through the chair, if I might.
Yeah.
We for years honored actually both commissioners and businesses at a dinner. It was a great thing. It was a little cost of the city, but other people helped kick in. It was a great thing. All commissioners were invited, appointed, everyone. I remember one year Weiss won an award from the Beautification Commission for the roses they had planted. What really happened to that is when we saw our money go, we had to cut stuff like that out because the sponsors weren't coming. But
Mike,
I admire what you're bringing up.
Mike,
and
I'm
would
not
love
even
to
saying
see
we
that
should
again.
spend any money on it.
Oh, no, I would love
All
to.
I'm
but-
saying is, I firmly believe that someone should, during this meeting that we're having, we should recognize some of our people, because I know there's people out here in the audience or at home that hear me are wondering why we don't recognize some of our people. That's all. We can have the biggest shindig around. We can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but the ones who do not go to those shindigs or those recognition nights don't have a clue what's happening within our city. So with that said, I know my time is up. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Dennis Hayes, Carter Avenue. I wanted to recognize Sergeant Albright for making a most self-evident statement. I was happy to hear him say it, that the first responders are most often not police or fire, frankly. We all know that. I remember one time Mr. Cisco reported from here, he had a fire next door to his house. The first responders were people like him and his neighbors. I just had the occasion to drive across South Texas, and I watched the LAPD and fire. I guess it was I think it was both LAPD and fire. They had like a 12-car convoy of boats, vans, firemen, policemen, heading for Houston. I had to detour north because the road was closed, I-10 was closed. But while those guys, those second responders, were on their way, Joe Blow from Smith Street had his rowboat out rescuing people as they were approaching. Now, that's not to take anything away from the second responders, but it's about time that we acknowledge the reality that we have a lot of good people in this country, as we've witnessed in these last few weeks. And I was just in Florida. I was just in Texas. I missed these tragic storms, thankfully. But I heard enough about it, I watched it, I monitored it, because I went up to South Carolina and I was worried I was going to get hit over there and I had to get out of there. But the people are out there. We have great people in this country. We're all seeing requests for donations. You know, I was at Sam's Club, you want to donate something, you're at some other place, you want to donate something. And I think many of us probably have donated, because these are tragedies of immense proportion. But I think we need, and I tend to agree with Mr. McGusson. I think it doesn't take anything for the mayor and the council to say this week, let's let's acknowledge so-and-so. I think of Jim, who every single day of his life picks up trash in downtown Allen Park. Every single day, he never misses. Maybe Sunday he misses. I see him at Mass. I don't know if he goes after church or changes or whatever, but he's there every single day because I eat in that restaurant most days. And he's out there picking up cigarette butts from outside the movie theater and outside the restaurant, paper cups and all that other stuff. So it wouldn't hurt, and I think it's a good idea, and it doesn't take any money, and I agree with Mike also that it would be nice if we could afford to put on a little dinner or something like that, but it's unnecessary. People like the sound of their name being mentioned. Hell, half of us get up here because we like to see our name. Hear the sound of our own name when we say, I'm Dennis Hayes, or I'm Ray McGusson, or I'm so-and-so. I'm Malcolm Beaton. God knows he loves the sound of his name. But, so I think that's a good idea, but I just wanted to make mention. I want to thank Sergeant Albright for stating the obvious. Hopefully it's the obvious. And I take exception to one thing he said, that some people don't like. I don't think anybody dislikes the police or the fire department. I think we all like the police and fire. Sometimes we get frustrated with them if they don't respond as quickly as we'd like to something that we consider to be urgent, but that's human nature. That's not to say we don't support or like or you know, respect those offices. So anyway, I just thought I'd make mention of that, and thank you very much.
Veronica Frazier, Cleveland Avenue. I started coming to city council meetings in 2007, asking the city for help with the property next door to me. Ms. Gorecki's been to my home. Mr. DiGiulio's been to my home. Mr. Kibbe's been to my home. A little more history. In the spring of 2015, I met with Mr. Cady over the situation, and he assigned someone to take care of it. And they came and took a bunch of pictures, and nothing was done that year. And when we had an emergency manager, nothing was done for those amount of times. And last year, I requested a meeting with Mr. Cady to find out Mr. Kibbe had taken over as administrator. So I requested a meeting with him, and he came out to my home, and he was so appalled that he invited Mr. Hurley, our prosecutor, and Ken Simmerly. They all came to my house. They were all appalled. And that I started that in the spring. We had an August court date, and the resident didn't show up to court. So it was put off for another 3 months till a December court date. So it was all last summer with me hacking away at weeds, trying to keep them out of my property. Well, this year, let's see, I've emailed Mr. Simmerly. He didn't respond. I called and left him a message. He didn't respond. I emailed Mr. Kibbe. He didn't respond. I emailed Mr. Hurley, and his advice was for me to call the sons of the property owner. Now, they're adults. They know what needs to be done. And they're not, again, doing anything. The resident's in a nursing home. It's looking as if she may not come back to the home. And in the meantime, it's 2 lots of no landscaping, so anything that falls and grows from seed grows. Now, when I wrote Mr. Kibbe, I was in a panic because I went outside and I saw thousands of bugs on the garage on the property. And they're called boxwood beetles, thousands of them. And they claim they don't eat wood. The most destructive thing is that their poo leaves stains. Now, I've spent thousands of dollars to have my home aluminum sided. Spring of 16, I paid to have my breezeway painted. It's a covered porch, used to be called a breezeway. And the last few days, I go in my breezeway, and it's loaded with these darn bugs. And I'm after them with a broom, and I'm stomping on it. It's fruitless. There's thousands of them. And that's what I wrote Mr. Kibbe about, asking for help. And I'm at my wit's end. The home was built in 1929. The 1929 fence is rotting, falling over. No one tells her it has to be replaced. I had a real estate agent out last summer. I'm thinking of moving closer to my daughter. He said, people are gonna pull up to your house. Some of them will keep going because of the house next door. Some of them will look at the house and go in the backyard and keep going. My house is worth less money, my biggest asset. And I'm a woman by myself. I'm at my wit's end. I'm coming to you for help. I'm coming to you to do something about this disastrous property.
You know, let me look into this a little more, and we'll see what can be done with this.
What about these bugs?
Yeah.
What I read about these bugs, there's a male and a female boxwood tree. These bugs only lay eggs and propagate in female trees, and the only thing you can do is cut the tree down. Or I get bugs every year, but this is the worst because now they're on my property.
Right.
So I hope somebody, I hope somebody, you're all welcome to come to my backyard to see this. Mr. Hayes, he came 4 years ago, I believe, his wife and his son, and they spent an entire weekend clearing this property, 2 lots.
So is that, no one's living there right now?
Not right now, no.
How long has she been gone? I'm assuming a woman lived there?
Yes, it's been since our early spring.
And it doesn't look like she's ever coming back?
According to her sons, they didn't think so. She's elderly, she had a heart attack, she's very frail. She's in a nursing home. But I never see anyone to question how they're doing. I have no one's phone numbers. I can't call anyone.
Now the sons, they came, when did they tell you that? Do you remember?
That she was in a nursing home?
Yeah.
In the spring, sometime in the
So
spring.
you haven't even seen them since spring?
Fleetingly.
Okay. Yeah, let me...
Talk to Mr. Hurley.
Let me talk to Mr. Hurley as well as Ken Simmerly, and then I'll talk to...
I just can't believe that Ken Simmerly didn't respond to me. And that's the problem that I have, is I keep coming for help and I'm not getting it year after year after year. And it's my property value that's suffering.
Right.
May I ask the attorney, when you do look into it, could you, keep us posted?
Sure.
As to what was, thank you.
Yes. I believe we did get the woman into court once, and it got dismissed because of her age.
But I thought we had a
But it is.
nuisance ordinance and a company that comes and cuts, cleans, whatever, and we just bill the house, the taxpayer, whatever the case is.
Through the chair, and this has been brought, you can't just go on there because they say it's bad. If we wrote a ticket and it went to court and got dismissed, we have no right to go on that property and cut it. That's her biggest problem. Sounds like we're writing tickets, doing everything we can, and not to knock our judges or magistrates, but it's going there and like bugs, we can't go on personal property. I mean, this is a real quagmire, but whatever the judge says, we can't, I'm sorry you have to deal with this.
No,
But
it's
if the court won't let us on there,
it's bad. It's really bad.
It's been frustrating, and I know the resident is frustrated. She was extremely frustrated when she spoke to me 2 years ago or whatever, and you know, we've been able to get nowhere with this. So if maybe Joe can take it to the next level. Yep.
We cut lawns all the time. We write a ticket and cut a lawn.
There's not much lawn left. It's all.
It's more a maintenance issue than anything.
yeah, it's not just going to cut grass or,
No, it's all the way up to the sidewalk.
And you have been
Backyard
coming
is-
for a while, and when I seen you today, I'm like, oh my goodness, so.
Any other public comments?
Nelson Zucchetto, Philomene, down the street from Garish Mansion. Just by what she was saying, kind of brings to mind the situation that we on Philomene are having too. And I understand the situation is in court. I understand the business of tickets being dismissed and so on. But these all seem to be stumbling blocks as to what can be done. So being very basic about this, what can be done? I mean, obviously, I would think a change in the ordinance, a change in the law. At what level could this be changed?
Mr. Zucchetto, let me just talk about the Garish home, because I've been chasing that now for the 6 years I've been in office. And it's before the Court of Appeals.
Yeah, I was there the other day.
The attorney is a beneficiary, a son of the Garishes, and he's not been timely with any of his filings, so he lost the right to oral argument. So the court in April said, we will render an opinion. This is the Court of Appeals. And as of last week, they still haven't rendered their opinion. So we're all stuck waiting on a court, because we have a, if we get the order entered, I think the order will allow us to demolish.
Well, two things. They could either affirm the circuit court, or they could remand it back to circuit court. And so we need to wait and see what they do.
But in any residence, the one thing that constitutionally, besides protecting people, is protecting their property and their real estate. And so there's no judge that I know, and I'm practicing now 50 years this year, that is moving easily to take a person's home away from them, no matter how bad their housekeeping is to their neighbors, their behavior, the tickets we issue. To take that home and demolish it, or any property. It took 13 years to demolish the property on Northern Allen Road. And we moved through the court system and ticketing system and everything else trying to get that thing down. And it took 13 years to get it done. Garish is now, we've been in court since 2011. And
I don't think it's been that long.
oh, yeah. Oh, because I went to the probate court.
Oh, well, your activities.
Yeah,
but
sure.
our activities, but yeah, it's gone on far too long. We're not going to argue with that.
I didn't really want to get specific about the Garish, but as I mentioned, I did go to the appellate court a week or so ago, and I talked to the clerk, and she said there's like an 18-month span as to when a case is entered at that level, so to speak. And this one is in the 9th month, so she said it could be another 9 months. It's going to be next year for sure, because the docket is set for this month, next month, and December. You can kiss goodbye. So it'll be next year sometime.
Well,
However,
there's no docket hearing that he's entitled to now. The court has to just render its opinion. They have to render a written opinion. He has given up his right to any more hearings before the court.
oh, well, that's good to hear.
But
When they will do that.
when are they going to write it?
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. But as I said, without getting specific about Garish and so on, is there some room or some movement that we can have an amendment to the ordinance, either locally or state? I mean, I would think judges and everyone else would want their communities of the state to look good. And if you got some place that looks bad, there must be some way to take care of it expeditiously without going through circuit court, court of appeal, and so on. I don't know who would approach for something like that.
Well, the Allen Park ordinances, I think, are quite common and encompassing in the rights they give a community to move. But I'm just saying is that the process is not very fast to take away somebody's property, to take away and tear their building down, whatever it be, house, business, whatever. And we can say we don't like it because we take care of our property, but it's kind of that slippery slope doctrine, you know. If we make it too easy, all you have to have is somebody that decides they don't like you in your city, and now you lose your property. So
It's a dilemma.
it is, and, you know, First Amendment to the Constitution talks about property.
All right,
and
thank you very
sanctity.
much.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll go to the next item, and that would be claims and accounts were asked to be removed, so I'd have a motion to put that before the council.
Motion, Mayor.
Council DeGiulio is moved. Do I have a second?
Support.
Supported by Councilman Templin. Councilman DeGiulio, your questions, please.
It's on page 1, under administration. It says insurance deductible, Michigan Municipal League, pool claim deductible, and it's for $15,000. Can we elaborate at all on what it's about? And can you tell me, is this the end of what people in the city will pay, the $15,000? Or is there more fees that will go on?
This is our deductible for a claim that's before the courts right now. This, Michigan Municipal League assesses us that fee, and then, once they hit that, amount, we are relieved of any further liability. So, yes, that should be the end of it with that claim.
Can you tell me, the gentleman that's named here, is he the plaintiff, or is he the, that's a name I don't recognize. I'm not going to mention it either. I mean, do you know anything?
It's
who
a
it
case
is or what
pending,
it
I
is?
believe, against our police department.
So he must be the plaintiff then, correct? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions by council? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote on the claims and accounts. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Consent agenda will consist of the payroll report, the August 2017 finance overview, budget to actual report, balance sheet, cash flow, bottle can drive by the Boy Scout Troop 842 for September 30th, parade permit for the Allen Park Homecoming Parade, September 22nd, starting at 4 p.m. on Rosedale to Champaign, ending at the Allen Park High School field, and a parade permit for Cabrini High School Homecoming Parade, October 6th, 4 p.m. to start on Park at White to Wick Road, end of Cabrini Schools. So motion for those
Motion.
items. Support. Councilman Cisco is moved, Councilman Rourke is supported. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Those are carried. Resolution to close down Allen Road from Southfield to Philomene for the DDA's Made in Michigan Festival, Friday, September 29th through September 30th. A motion to put that.
Motion.
Councilman Scavarecki is moved, Councilman Rourke is supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Resolution to approve the sale of beer and wine at the Made in Michigan Festival for those 2 days, September 29th, September 30th.
Motion.
Councilman Cisco
Support.
is moved, supported by Councilwoman Gavrecki. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
The motion's carried with a 1 no vote, Councilman DeGiulio. Resolution to approve the request for DT Energy for a 60 by 12-foot easement in Millward Rotary Park near Bel Air Avenue.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cisco, supported by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod.
Templin made the motion.
I'm sorry. Excuse me, who made the motion?
Larry Templin.
Councilman Templin did.
Okay. And the support came from over here.
Mayor
Okay.
Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem. Excuse me. Is there any discussion of this matter? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. A motion to enter a 3-year lease purchase agreement to finance a new sewer vector with Comerica Bank, and that the mayor and city clerk sign the agreement pending final review from the city attorney. Motion from the council, please.
Motion.
Support.
Councilwoman Gavarecki has moved, and Councilwoman Mayor Pro Tem McLeod has supported. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify the resolution. It's gonna be the, I didn't write it on the agenda, but I wanted to put it in this language like we did the fire truck. So this would be a motion by Gavarecki, supported by McLeod, to enter into a 3-year lease purchase agreement with Comerica Bank, lowest rate, for financing of the new sewer truck approved at the June, what was that, the June 21st
June
meeting?
21st, Mike.
June 21st meeting, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver this master lease purchase agreement with Comerica Leasing Corporation with the applicable lease and all other associated documents contemplated hereby. So we could call for the vote. But that is the resolution that's being offered to the mayor and council.
Is that acceptable to
Yes.
Councilwoman Gavarecki
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem McLeod? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, first and second reading of the proposed ordinance, and I'd ask the city attorney to read the ordinance, please.
Bear with me, I was, thank you. An ordinance of the City of Allen Park, Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 10, Buildings and Building Regulations by the addition of Article 10, Minimum Housing Standards, and Sections 10-400 through 10-405 to prevent blight by ensuring minimum maintenance of dwellings.
Any further action needed at this time, Mr. Clerk?
I forgot, are we just gonna read them aloud twice and then vote, or are we gonna do a first and then vote? I forgot how we were gonna do it.
I think we're going to read it twice and then do one vote.
Okay, I
We're gonna do two
apologize, because
votes.
it's changed over my 20 years here, so.
Okay, second reading. An ordinance of the City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 10, Buildings and Building Regulations by the addition of Article 10, Minimum Housing Standards, in Sections 10-400 through 10-405 to prevent blight by ensuring minimum maintenance of dwellings.
Thank you. So I'd like a motion from the council to accept the first and second reading of proposed ordinance number 05-2017.
Motion.
Mayor
Support.
Pro Tem McLeod, supported by Councilwoman Gavarecki. Is there any further discussion by council?
Yeah, I want to say something, Mayor.
Yes.
So we're going to have we're going to go into their house, we're going to inspect their house at the point of sale, is that correct?
Yes.
So we're going to start going into people's homes as they're selling them, like senior citizens, we're going to go into their home.
That's
Okay.
what,
All right.
any other questions by council? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
One no, motion passes, and the no is by Councilman DiGiulio. Motion for adjournment?
No other
Comments?
I don't see it here.
No.
I didn't make it up.
That is correct.
Support.
Save it for next week.
Next
Councilman
year.
Rourke has moved. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Councilwoman Gavarecki is Seconded, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Talk to Ray and get this agenda.
We're adjourned at 7:13.